I think sometimes we think future, we think we go down to our 40s and the 50s, and I'm in my 40s, and you go, oh my gosh, this was the future I feared, and I'm here. So sometimes I think we think all the way to then, but I don't think that's always necessary. Future sometimes is just about tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And so what do our kids need right now to make sure that future is the best it could possibly be for them?
Yeah.
And if we're not thinking about that, what you do right now is kind of like not particularly useful, because therapy is all about context. It's like, why do you do what you need to do? It's so that you can do something in a particular context.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here again with you and to be with you, Dana.
Always good to be here.
Yeah.
Got a bit of a different format today.
It is. We're on camera, so bear with us while we adjust to being recorded.
We haven't really been on camera for this particular podcast,
No.
so it's a bit of a different experience. So we will talk to each other, but we'll also make sure we look at you, and that feels a little bit awkward because we're not normally used to talking to anyone but looking at each other.
Presenter.
Yeah, that's right. But we thought this would be a really good way to talk about this final F word. Can't believe we're finally there.
We are. And I think it's one that a lot of us think about. And so, a really important one. I know it's especially important for you, Dana.
Yes.
Yeah.
So future, I think future.
If you haven't guessed. Future.
Future is like one of those ones that you want to think about, but then you probably just want to suppress that thought and put it deep somewhere and not have to think about it. But it's
Most
probably
definitely.
something that still comes up in your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
'Cause our kids do grow up to become adults one day.
That's just still a crazy thought for me, but definitely, as you say, it's something that's starting to creep in now, thinking about what that looks like.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about growth, right? So like our children do grow, they get taller, they get heavier. That sometimes dictates a lot of the decisions that we might make.
Yes.
And we've covered that a fair bit in the pod already about, function, and we talk about fitness and the reasons we might do that to prevent you from having to carry. So, we have thought about it along the way, but future in itself is just like staring down and kind of going, oh, what's there?
Yeah.
And it gets a little bit scary to put it back again.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it, Dana. Nailed that.
You can tell that this has been a conversation many parents have had with me, and I think it's something that's really important. So where would you like to start when it comes to future?
I mean, I'd love to hear from your perspective, future, how you incorporate that in your thinking.
Okay.
Both within immediate sessions and then your broader planning and thinking.
Okay, that's a really great place to start, because at the end of the day, if you're not thinking about future, there's probably not a whole lot of point doing what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing now is all about tying up what things might look like in the future. So where do our kids need to be? Like, therapy is all about planning for what you need next.
Yes.
So your future might be like next week, next term, next year, as they head into kindy, as they head into high school. Like, you're thinking about that next step. So therapy is kind of like, let's help to set the scene so that transition isn't like, what just happened? And then, because I think sometimes we think future, we think we go down to our 40s and the 50s, and I'm in my 40s, and you go, oh my gosh, this was the future I feared, and I'm here. So sometimes I think we think all the way to then, but I don't think that's always necessary. Future sometimes is just about tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And so what do our kids need right now to make sure that future is the best it could possibly be for them?
Yeah.
And if we're not thinking about that, what you do right now is kind of like not particularly useful, because therapy is all about context. It's like, why do you do what you need to do? It's so that you can do something in a particular context. So for me, future is everything that Healthy Strides is about. It's everything that me as a therapist thinks about. And that's why we do research, is to kind of go, okay, how do we plan for the future? Because you as a parent can't necessarily think about all of those things, but our job is to sort of be there ready, so when we get to that place, we can help bring you through that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's
huge.
That's great, yeah. And I guess through all of that research, as I've learned, you're able to better understand what our child is going to look like in 2, 3, 4 years. as a parent who hasn't experienced that and who just can't see that, it's very hard for us to plan for things like that. So it's incredibly valuable for us to get that insight.
Yeah, it just gives you some things to sort of really hook onto.
Yeah.
You know, because the reason why you might do research is we go, okay, we know that there's health consequences if you don't do X, Y, and Z. So let's make sure we put those in place to look after your future and your health. We know that the transition into going into high school is a really big one from a cognitive load perspective. So we might want to make sure that we have a wheelchair ready and in place so that when you get to high school, you don't have to suddenly go, oh my gosh, they've got so much distance to cover and walk.
Yeah.
They're so tired by the time they get there. Now let's look into a wheelchair. No.
Yeah, wow.
We look into that beforehand for you so that we can plan that.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to see that for yourself when you're in that moment. But research helps us to predict the future. When you think about everything that we do, it's always about like, okay, so next time we will do this.
Yes.
Next time we will do this. And that's all future talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for me, future was a really difficult one when our little guy was first born and in those first couple of years, because we didn't at that age know what his mobility would look like, what his communication was going to look like.
Yeah.
And so trying to picture school was really difficult for us.
Of course.
I literally couldn't picture, is he going to be in a wheelchair? Is he going to be in a walker? I just had no idea, which made it really difficult to picture him in my head and what that future looks like. So I think it was all very much immediate in those first few years, exactly as you say. It was literally the next day or the next week or the next month that we were planning for. It's just getting him up and then what does that look like, and then how do we help him find his right mobility device and all of those sorts of things. And now we're sort of coming into, and then it was school, that prompt of, hey, what are you going to do when he starts school next year or in 2 years, and going, oh my gosh, okay, now I have to think about these things. And then factoring that into his programs and his therapy outside of Healthy Strides as well. And now we're sort of at the stage where we're in school and I'm actually thinking bigger than that. And there's so many things that prompt different thoughts about the future.
Yeah.
So
what are some of those for you?
Like, I think medical appointments now are more sort of future-based, whereas before it was always immediate, like what's happening, how's seizures, how's this, how's pain, checking his range and tone.
Yeah, right.
All of those sorts of things. What do we need to do immediately to help with that? And now it's sort of more, we're having the conversations about preventing surgeries or delaying surgeries, pushing out surgeries and things like that. So better understanding what can we do to do that, to prevent those surgeries or to delay those surgeries a bit longer. And heart health is another thing that we're starting to think about, like mobility. Okay, so the mobility was immediately focused around how can he participate with his friends and things like that. But now it's sort of like, is he doing enough? And, his fitness and his health.
Flooding in, don't they?
Yeah, and like different appointments, different promptings sort of make me think, oh my gosh, I have to start thinking about all these things. Mental health is now something that we start thinking about. Are we doing enough for his mental health? Is he getting enough time outside? Is he having enough time with friends? Is he participating enough with friends? And all of those sorts of things that as a little baby, mental health was more related to like, is he getting enough cuddles? Is he getting enough love? And now it's thinking broader than that. And oh my gosh, the list goes on, Dana.
I can tell. Because the minute you sort of open that, it's almost like floodgates, right? Which is why you do need a framework to help you pin things on. And this is why we love the F word so much, because everything that you said there, you can kind of go, okay, thoughts run wild. Let's put that all into a framework, because then you have an ability to make it possible. I love how Renee spoke about that earlier on, like all these thoughts. Now the F words gives me the framework. So mental health. Let's talk about fun. Like fun sounds like fun almost undersells it sometimes, because you're like, fun, yay. But fun is actually mental health. It is about what is that person doing that's fulfilling and filling their cup. Because for some kids, there'll be certain interests that they love to do that calms them, that gives them that ability to refresh, and then they can face the next part of their day of their life. So it might just be the iPad. It might be something like being part of a sporting group. Whatever it is for them, we need to know what kids like. We need to make sure we cherish those times, because that's why we talk about in therapy, we really don't want them crying.
Yeah.
Because if they're crying, you're setting up the stage for poor mental health in the future, because they're crying, signals aren't being taken seriously.
Yeah.
So that's why we talk about it. It's because we're thinking about the future. We're constantly going, okay, what is it that they're like? So it is okay to follow your child's lead and go, you know what? This isn't working. They're upset. I'm upset. What's this going to serve right now? We want to look after the child's future mental health, because these little gains that you get here, whatever they might be, it's not worth it, because we are thinking about what they like and enjoy. So it is absolutely okay to follow their lead. So, you know, are you spending time with friends and family? Well, you need to be guided by that. Because you are spending time with your friends and family. Your whole family unit as a whole is ready to go. So as your little boy gets older to become a very big boy, as he's likely to be, you already have the friends and family in place to understand him, can support you, can support him. And so that future doesn't look so scary, because you've got community. You're doing life together. And then you talked about heart health. Well, that's why we think about fitness, which we've covered extensively on this pod. And then fitness is about making sure that we're looking after their ability to move efficiently, to raise their heart rate, to look after their health, so they're not sitting too much. And that's kind of our role, is to help to break down those large periods of sitting. So everything you spoke about there, if you put it into a framework and map it out in the F words, I guarantee you it'll help you feel more at ease that you are doing everything right, and that you might have little areas you go, you know what, we don't see enough friends. We don't do that. That must be our priority for this next term. And then you can prioritize that, but not to look at the future and one big scary that's there in front of you. And it's easier said than done sometimes, but you have to have people around you to kind of maybe make you slow down a bit. I get those moments where I think about, oh gosh, you know, all these things are happening. There's changes that are happening in the industry. What do we do? And I wrote to a friend of mine who's in the US, and all she said to me was, Dana, focus. This is what you need to do right now. And I was like, okay. Got it. Check. Okay, off you go again, because the big picture can be a bit scary.
Definitely. Like you say, I am already thinking about when my child is 6 foot, whatever he's going to be, and what does community access look like?
Yeah, everyone's going to look at this video and go, how's your 6 foot, Kate?
My husband's very tall. For context. Like I do start thinking about support workers. You know, we have a beautiful team of support workers that are all female. When he's older, we're going to have to get some males who are able to assist him, and where will they take him? What will they do? All of these sorts of things. Once he's a big guy, and he might not want to use his wheelchair, he might want to sort of walk around a bit, and that I don't know what that will look like when he's older. And there's just, what does participation look like for him? What will his communication look like? I think there's just
something that keeps you up at night.
Most definitely. So it's easier to think about the immediate future. But now I think we are at that age, as I said, because we're seeing how much he's growing and, you know, how busy and active he is. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do when we don't have all the supports that we have now in this like younger pediatric setting? That is definitely something that worries me.
That worry hopefully can be put more at ease by thinking about the priorities that we put in place right now. So right now, I guess if we think about what you were just saying, like if we think about the therapy in the pediatric setting, where resources are much more abundant than they are.
Most definitely.
And not even just from an NDIS perspective, but from like just people support. There just tends to be more around that pediatric group. It really falls off a cliff.
Even at hospital setting, everything, the health setting.
All that changes a lot. So let's park that for a moment. But in the immediate, what does that mean we do? It just means all the therapy we do has to have very clear purpose. So does it really matter if they can stand on one leg for an extra 2 seconds? Probably not. Does it really matter if they can hold their head up for an extra 5 seconds? Probably not. But let's make sure that whatever it is we're learning to do, we've got the resources to support them to do it as independently as possible. So for some children, what they can do by themselves might be quite limited, but let's make sure we put in place enough resource around that person so they've got the assistive technology, they've got the equipment, and you've got people trained, and you have like a way of training people, because the reality is people keep moving on, so you're constantly retraining. Let's think about how we can train that future so that more people have the skills to get to know your child as they become a teenager teenager. So I think that's where our effort can be focused on too. You don't have to do it all in one hit.
No.
You've got like a good 15, 16, 17 years to do that.
Yeah.
But that has to be part of our thinking. So, you know, can he wash his hands? You know, how is he going to the toilet? Or, you know, the real practical day-to-day skills.
Yeah. That now while he's little.
Yeah. Why are you trying to use two hands? Well, so that he can do that. You know, like that's what we're trying to think about each time. So our goals need to be really nicely sort of supported for an overall big goal. Yeah. You know, kind of where you're headed. And it might take a few years, but that's okay.
Yep, we've
There's
got
enough
a few
time
years.
and resources to bring together for that. So it's just a matter of having really good conversations with your therapist, planning out where you'd like it to be. Or if you're not sure, then let's take each step, you know, one bit at a time, but we can learn from previous experience.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's the important part.
Yeah. And I think you touched on it as well, the talking about it with therapists.
Yeah.
Because, I think it's those conversations that have definitely opened me up to thinking about a lot of the things, talking to therapists and doctors. And as I said earlier, it's not until we have those conversations that you do. So asking for that guidance of, hey, what's this going to look like in 3 or 4 years, instead of just focusing on that immediate, I think that is going to be important, asking for help.
And just a bit at a time.
Yeah.
You know, I think when you start to feel that overwhelm, which we are all going to feel, it's just a matter of paring it back. But on that, I think the big part is, where do they go even from a therapy perspective?
Yeah.
Because a lot of services are starting to sort of transition a little bit more, so that, you know, they see kids around 18, and it does look a little bit different the older they get as well, because it's all about sort of future life, where they're going to head. Is it employment? What hobbies? What community are they going to be a part of? And I think that's a really big question, and we've been asking that question a lot as well, and so now I've been a therapist for, like I keep saying, over 20 years.
Yeah, wow.
So it means a lot of my kids have now all grown up to become adults or about to become adults. And even I go, where are we going to support you? Because you don't have enough time to think about those transition elements in the midst of high school when they're 15 and 16, because you're just trying to get through that.
Yes, I can definitely see how that,
And you're thinking about, you know, hospitals when that finishes up as well. So you're kind of going, there's a lot happening in those 3 years. How can I possibly think about what happens on the other side? And so we've come up with a bit of an answer.
Okay.
Have you heard a little bit about this?
I've briefly heard, but I'm excited to hear what you've got to tell me.
Well, based on so many experiences that our children and families have been talking about, exactly what you've been saying as well. It's like, what's happening for the future? We also have been thinking about the same thing, and we are primarily pediatric, but in our mission statement, I do say children and young adults, because I've never really wanted to let go of anyone.
And they don't want to let go of you.
Yeah, that's really hard to think about where we transition, but services look different. It shouldn't really be therapy anymore. It's not really in a pediatric setting. Yeah. So it needs to look very different. And for that reason, we've been talking to a lot of families, and we're going to start a new service, which is going to be called the Healthy Strides Community Hub.
Love that.
And the whole idea of that is to find a purpose-built space, which is where teenagers and young adults actually want to hang out. Whether they use the word hang out anymore or not, I'm not sure. But I'm sticking with it. I'm in my 40s. They hang out somewhere.
They hang out.
This is where they can hang out. And it's a place where they can hang out, have food, play video games, where they can engage in things that help them with their fitness, learning daily skills that help them to be more independent. We're really wanting a purpose-built space for this.
That's amazing.
And it's a place where they'll transition out from Healthy Strides into that. So from 15 years of age, we want to start early so they can be familiar with the place, familiar with the team. And then the whole idea of that is that we work really hard to find all those different services that will be perfect for them as they become adults. Amazing. But we need a period of time to do that, a very focused period of time. So hopefully when we think about future, it's not so daunting, knowing that we're going to put this together.
And they've got somewhere to go.
Yeah. After high school, what does that look like?
Yeah, where their days are suddenly free, and where can their support team take them?
That's right.
Support workers will be able to bring them.
Yeah, they can bring them along. They can hang out.
I love that.
But, you know, still engaging in things that are important. Yeah. So doing things like fitness, doing things that are where they can develop their hobbies and be the person that they want to be. Yeah. They've done all this therapy, so what for?
Yeah,
this is the why. This is the part where we need to build in together. So,
and it's a safe community that's accepting, and it's made to accommodate them
That's right.
for all of their needs.
That's right. And we're talking to so many families to make sure that we design this the way that they want it to be. Like we did with Healthy Strides here, we've designed it exactly how families wanted it, took everyone's feedback and just did it that way. We'll do exactly the same for this. So it's early days. We are seeking as much support as we can, and we want to build the place that we want our children to grow up into as they become young adults.
Question for you, Dana.
Yeah.
What can we as families do to support you and get this happening?
Well, reach out to us. Let us know that you are interested in helping out in the first place. We want to run some fundraisers as well because we want to generate a bit of a resource to help us to buy some essential equipment that we might need for the space as well, renovations, you know, looking for the space itself is going to be really important. So, yeah, if you're interested and you've got big ideas, share them with us because it's the early days still.
Yes, great.
But yeah, please let us know if you're interested because that'll help us to push it forward, be part of the interest group and help us with some fundraisers if you're interested in things like that.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what
I'm sure I'm not the only one that wants to be involved. Yeah.
Let's get this place ready for them.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So that's Future.
Dana. Okay, cool.
What a perfect way to
great introduction to Future. That's just brilliant. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Let's make it happen.
Yes, let's
make it happen. So stay tuned. I hope that was really helpful for you because Future is actually what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I know it's on everyone's mind. So look, we've heard it. So let's try to put something together for you.
So exciting.
Talk to you again next time, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.